The truth about Phoenix water. What nobody is telling you. What if I told you one of the biggest stories impacting Arizona real estate isn't interest rates, inventory, or even home prices? It's water. And if you've been watching national news lately, you've probably seen the headlines. Phoenix is running out of water. The Colorado River is drying up. They're renegotiating the Colorado River contracts. But those headlines aren't 100% or actually true. Today I'm going to separate fact from fiction and explain what every homeowner, buyer, and business owner should know about Arizona's water future. I'm Steve Alkiner, your real estate expert and American Dream TV host. Let's jump in. Let's start with the question I hear constantly. Steve, is Phoenix running out of water? What would happen if I bought a house here? The short answer is no, Phoenix isn't running out of water, not even close. In fact, according to the City of Phoenix, the city expects to have adequate water supplies to meet projected demand, including future growth, for at least the next 50 years under normal conditions. Now that doesn't mean that there are challenges, there are. But the idea that people will going to wake up one morning, turn on the faucet, and nothing comes out, that's simply not reality. And here's why. Most people think Phoenix gets all of its water from the Colorado River, or what we call CAP. That's actually false. Phoenix has one of the most diversified water portfolios in all of the Southwest. Roughly 60% comes from the Salt and Verde River systems, and about 40% comes from the Colorado River through CAP, or the Central Arizona Project. And only a very small percentage comes from groundwater wells. That diversification is a huge advantage. It's one of the reasons Phoenix has remained resilient while many other communities are facing much tougher water challenges. Here's where things get a bit interesting. The real issue isn't today's homeowners, it's tomorrow's growth. Arizona's water officials recently tightened the rules for new development. Why? Because they want to make sure future growth is supported by long-term renewable water supplies. Think of it this way. Arizona isn't slamming on the brakes, it's requiring developers to prove they have enough fuel before they hit the gas. And honestly, that's smart planning. Well, what does this mean for current homeowners? Very little. Your neighborhood isn't suddenly losing water. Your home isn't becoming less valuable because of water concerns. Existing communities remain protected. Existing water supplies remain protected. The biggest impact falls on future development, and especially projects on the outer edges of the metro areas. Now let's talk about what this means for home values, because this is where the conversation gets important. Water security is becoming a competitive advantage. Communities that have invested in infrastructure, water storage, conservation, and long-term planning are positioning themselves for success. Think about it. If you're an employer deciding where to expand, if you're an investor deciding where to put your money, if you're a family deciding where do we want to buy a home, wouldn't you want to know your community has a solid, long-term water plan? Of course you would. That's why cities throughout the valley have spent decades investing in reservoirs, water banking programs, recharge projects, reclaimed water systems, and conservation technology. Phoenix didn't start planning for this yesterday. They started planning decades ago. And that's a huge distinction. Now let's talk about what I'm watching more closely, the future of Colorado River. Current federal operating agreements are being rewritten/negotiated. Those decisions will impact water policy across the entire Southwest for decades. This is probably the single biggest variable that water experts are watching right now. But here's what gives me confidence. Because of Phoenix's diversification, the fact that only 40% of its water comes from the Colorado River, Phoenix has been and is working on options to compensate for the changes that could happen in that CAP program. The city continues investing in new water infrastructure, additional reservoir storage, water recycling, groundwater backup systems, and new supply projects. They're also working on long-term reliability improvements. In other words, they're planning for multiple scenarios, not just the best case scenario. So what's the real takeaway? Phoenix is not a city that's running out of water. Phoenix is a city that's adapting, it's a city that's planning, and it's a city that's investing heavily in its future. Are there challenges ahead? Absolutely. Every major city in the Southwest faces challenges. But the conversation today isn't about whether Phoenix survives. The conversation is about how Phoenix manages growth while protecting one of the most valuable resources we have, water. And based on what I'm seeing, Arizona is taking that responsibility very seriously. If you're considering buying, selling, or relocating to Arizona and want to understand how growth, infrastructure, and long-term planning could impact your real estate decisions, I'd love to help. I'm Steve Alkenar, American Dream TV host, your Arizona lifestyle and real estate expert. If you found this information helpful, please share it with someone who's been wondering about Arizona's water future. And if there's a topic you'd like me to cover in the future, please send me a message. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next adventure.